Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's a bright and sunshiny day. Hey, how are you, everybody? Hope everybody's well. All right, let's get started. I wish I could get rid of that. That's the way I highlighted it. Maybe I should go back and remake uh, um, this passage. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? Our Father in heaven, may your name be kept holy. May your kingdom come soon. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today the food we need, and forgive us our sins, as we have forgiven those who sin against us. And don't let us yield to temptation, but rescue us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you, Lord, thank you, Jehovah, for another beautiful day on your beautiful earth, and thank you for allowing us to wake up today. Please help Danielle's family, Nathan's son, to get through this hard time of Nathan's passing so soon, so suddenly, from an aneurysm. Give them mental and physical strength to get through it. It's so hard losing a loved one, especially when you're close to them. Whether you're close to them or not, it's still sad and heartbreaking. And please help Tate, who has a heart condition and cancer. Also help my friend Richie, who has cancer, but the doctor said he's definitely going to beat it because everything looks really good. Isabella Strahan is cancer free, so Jehovah, please keep her cancer free. And Cindy Lee, Lisa, King Charles, Princess Kate, and Jen's friend Shannon all have cancer, different types and different stages. Please help them, give them mental and physical strength to fight it. Celine Dion has a stiff person syndrome. Please help her with the pain management. Give her physical mental strength to get to fight against the pain. Let her condition go away. Jenny, Christina, Tiffany, and her sons, Robin Taylor, all have things going on. Help them physically and mentally, as well as Mr. Ham. And Arnie and daughters. Arnie, Vicky family, Carol and her mom. Please help them. In Jesus' name, amen. So now we're going to listen to Deuteronomy chapter 11 through 20.
Chapter 11. You must love Jehovah your God and always keep your obligation to him and his statutes, his judicial decisions, and his commandments. You know that today I am addressing you, not your sons, who have not known or seen the discipline of Jehovah your God, his greatness, his mighty hand, and his outstretched arm. They did not see his signs and his deeds that he did in Egypt, to Pharaoh king of Egypt, and to all his land, or what he did to the armies of Egypt, to Pharaoh's horses and war chariots, which were overwhelmed by the waters of the Red Sea, when they were chasing after you, and Jehovah destroyed them once and for all. They did not see what he has done for you in the wilderness until your coming to this place, or what he did to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the son of Reuben, when the earth opened and swallowed them up, along with their households and their tents and every living thing that followed them, before the eyes of all Israel. Your own eyes have seen all the great deeds that Jehovah did. You must keep the whole commandment that I am giving you today, so that you may grow strong and cross over into the land to take possession of it, and so that you may live long in the land that Jehovah swore to give to your forefathers and their offspring, a land flowing with milk and honey. The land you are going to take possession of is not like the land of Egypt, out of which you came, where you used to sow your seed and irrigate it with your foot, like a garden of vegetables. But the land you are about to cross into and possess is a land of mountains and valley plains. It drinks the water that rains from the heavens. It is a land that Jehovah your God is caring for. The eyes of Jehovah your God are constantly upon it, from the beginning of the year to the close of the year. And if you will diligently obey my commandments that I am commanding you today, and love Jehovah your God, and serve him with all your heart and all your soul, I will also give rain for your land at its appointed time, autumn rain and spring rain, and you will gather your grain and your new wine and your oil. And I will provide vegetation in your fields for your livestock, and you will eat and be satisfied. Be careful not to let your heart be enticed to go astray and worship other gods and bow down to them. Otherwise, Jehovah's anger will blaze against you, and he will shut up the heavens so that it will not rain, and the ground will not give its produce, and you will quickly perish from the good land that Jehovah is giving you. You must impress these words of mine on your heart and your soul, and bind them as a reminder on your hand, and they should be like a headband on your forehead. Teach them to your children, speaking about them when you sit in your house, and when you walk on the road, and when you lie down, and when you get up. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, so that you and your sons may live long in the land that Jehovah swore to give to your forefathers, for as long as the heavens are over the earth. If you strictly observe this commandment that I am giving you, and you carry it out, to love Jehovah your God, to walk in all his ways, and to cling to him, Jehovah will drive away all these nations from before you, and you will dispossess nations greater and more numerous than you are. Every place you set your foot will become yours, from the wilderness up to Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, to the western sea, your boundary will become. Nobody will stand up to you. Jehovah your God will spread the dread and the fear of you over the whole land on which you walk, just as he promised you. See, I am putting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you obey the commandments of Jehovah your God that I am commanding you today, and the curse, if you do not obey the commandments of Jehovah your God, and you turn aside from the way I am commanding you to follow today, and you follow gods that you have not known. When Jehovah your God brings you into the land you are to possess, you must pronounce the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal. Are they not on the other side of the Jordan toward the west, in the land of the Canaanites who live in the Arabah, opposite Gilgal, beside the big trees of Moreh? For you are crossing the Jordan to enter and take possession of the land that Jehovah your God is giving you. When you take possession of it and live in it, you must be careful to carry out all the regulations and the judicial decisions that I am putting before you today. Chapter 12. These are the regulations and the judicial decisions that you should be careful to carry out all the days that you are alive in the land that Jehovah the God of your forefathers will give you to possess. You should completely destroy all the places where the nations you will dispossess have served their gods, whether on the high mountains or on the hills or under any luxuriant tree. You should pull down their altars, shatter their sacred pillars, burn their sacred poles in the fire, and cut down the graven images of their gods, obliterating their very names from that place. You must not worship Jehovah your God in that way. Rather, seek Jehovah your God, wherever he chooses to establish his name and his place of residence among all your tribes, and go there. That is where you are to bring your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tithes, the contribution from your hand, your vow offerings, your voluntary offerings, and the firstborn of your herd and flock. You and your households must eat there before Jehovah your God, and rejoice in all your undertakings, because Jehovah your God has blessed you. You must not do as we are doing here today, with everyone doing whatever is right in his own eyes, because you have not yet come into the resting place and the inheritance that Jehovah your God is giving you. When you do cross the Jordan and dwell in the land that Jehovah your God is giving you to possess, he will certainly give you rest from all your enemies around you, and you will dwell in security. You will bring all that I am commanding you to the place that Jehovah your God chooses to have his name reside. Your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your...
Sorry.
tithes, the contribution from your hand, and every vow offering that you vow to Jehovah. You will rejoice before Jehovah your God, you and your sons, your daughters, your male and female slaves, and the Levite inside your cities, for he has not been given a share or an inheritance with you. Be careful not to offer up your burnt offerings in any other place you may see. You should offer your burnt offerings only in the place that Jehovah chooses in one of your tribal territories, and there you should do everything I am commanding you. But whenever you desire it, you may slaughter and eat meat, according to the blessing that Jehovah your God has given you in all your cities.
I'm so sorry.
The unclean person and the clean person may eat it, as you would eat a gazelle or a deer. But you must not eat the blood. You should pour it out on the ground like water. You will not be allowed to eat within your cities the 10th part of your grain, your new wine, your oil, the firstborn of your herd and flock, any of your vow offerings that you vow, your voluntary offerings, or the contribution from your hand.
Good morning, Carol.
These you are to eat before Jehovah your
How
God,
are you?
in the place Jehovah your God will choose. You and your son, your daughter, your male and female servant, and the Levite inside your cities. and you will rejoice before Jehovah your God in all your undertakings. Be careful not to neglect the Levite as long as you live in your land. When Jehovah your God enlarges your territory, just as he has promised you, and you say, I want to eat meat, because you desire to eat meat, you may eat meat whenever you desire it. If the place that Jehovah your God chooses to put his name is far away from you, you should then slaughter some of your herd or some of your flock that Jehovah has given you, just as I have commanded you, and you should eat inside your cities whenever you desire it. You may eat it as you would eat the gazelle and the deer. Both the unclean person and the clean person may eat it. Just be firmly resolved not to eat the blood, because the blood is the life, and you must not eat the life with the flesh. You must not eat it. You should pour it out on the ground like water. You must not eat it, so that it may go well with you and your children after you, because you are doing what is right in Jehovah's eyes. You should take only the holy things that are yours and your vow offerings when you come to the place that Jehovah will choose. There you will offer your burnt offerings, the flesh and the blood, on the altar of Jehovah your God. And the blood of your sacrifices should be poured out against the altar of Jehovah your God, but the flesh you may eat. Be careful to obey all these words that I am commanding you, so that it may always go well with you and your sons after you, because you are doing what is good and right in the eyes of Jehovah your God. When Jehovah your God annihilates the nations that you are to dispossess, and you are living in their land, be careful not to be entrapped after they have been annihilated from before you. Do not ask about their gods, saying, how were these nations accustomed to serve their gods? I too will do the same. You must not do this to Jehovah your God, because they do for their gods every detestable thing that Jehovah hates, even burning their sons and their daughters in the fire to their gods. Every word that I am commanding you is what you should be careful to do. You must not add to it, nor take away from it. Chapter 13. In case a prophet, or one who foretells by dreams, arises in your midst, and gives you a sign or a portent, and the sign or the portent about which he spoke to you comes true, while he is saying, let us walk after other gods, gods that you have not known, and let us serve them. You must not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer. For Jehovah your God is testing you, to know whether you love Jehovah your God with all your heart and all your soul. After Jehovah your God you should walk. Him you should fear. His commandments you should keep. To his voice you should listen. He is the one you should serve, and to him you should hold fast. But that prophet or that dreamer should be put to death, because he encouraged rebellion against Jehovah your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed you from the house of slavery, to turn you from the way in which Jehovah your God has commanded you to walk. And you must remove what is evil from your midst. If your brother, the son of your mother, or your son, or your daughter, or your cherished wife, or your closest companion should try to entice you in secrecy, saying, let us go and serve other gods, gods that neither you nor your forefathers have known, from the gods of the peoples all around you, whether near you or those far away from you, from one end of the land to the other end of the land. You must not give in to him or listen to him, nor should you show pity or feel compassion or protect him. Instead, you should kill him without fail. Your hand should be the first to come upon him to put him to death, and the hand of all the people afterward. And you must stone him to death, because he has sought to turn you away from Jehovah your God, who has brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. Then all Israel will hear and become afraid, and they will never again do anything bad like this among you. In case you hear it said in one of your cities that Jehovah your God is giving you to occupy, good-for-nothing men have gone out among you to turn away the inhabitants of their city, saying, "Let us go and serve other gods," gods that you have not known. You should look into the matter, making a thorough investigation and inquiry. And if it is confirmed to be true that this detestable thing has been done among you, you should without fail strike down the inhabitants of that city with the sword. Devote it and everything that is in it, including its livestock, to destruction by the sword. You should then collect all its spoil into the middle of its public square and burn the city with fire, and its spoil will serve as a whole offering to Jehovah your God. It will become a permanent heap of ruins. It should never be rebuilt. Your hand should take nothing that was set apart for destruction, so that Jehovah may turn away from his burning anger, and show you mercy and compassion, and multiply you, just as he has sworn to your forefathers. For you should obey Jehovah your God by keeping all his commandments that I am commanding you today, thus doing what is right in the eyes of Jehovah your God. Chapter 14. You as sons of Jehovah your God, do not cut yourselves or shave your foreheads bald for a dead person. For you are a holy people to Jehovah your God, and Jehovah has chosen you to become his people, his special property, out of all the peoples who are on the face of the earth. You must not eat anything that is detestable. These are the animals that you may eat: the bull, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the gazelle, the roebuck, the wild goat, the antelope,
The
the
what?
wild sheep, and the
Roebuck?
mountain sheep. You may eat any animal that has a split hoof divided into two, and that chews the cud. However, you must not eat the following animals that chew the cud or that have split hooves: the camel, the hare, and the rock badger, because they chew the cud, but do not have split hooves. They are unclean for you. Also the pig, because it has a split hoof, but does not chew the cud. It is unclean for you. You must not eat their flesh or touch their carcasses. Of everything that is living in the waters, you may eat these. Anything with fins and scales you may eat. But you must not eat anything that has no fins and scales. It is unclean for you. You may eat any clean bird, but you must not eat these: the eagle, the osprey, the black vulture, the red kite, the black kite, every kind of glede, every kind of raven, the ostrich, the owl, the gull, every kind of falcon, the little owl, the long-eared owl, the swan, the pelican, the vulture, the cormorant, the stork, every kind of heron, the hoopoe, and the bat. Every winged swarming creature also is unclean for you. They should not be eaten. Any clean flying creature you may eat. You must not eat any animal that was found dead. You may give it to the foreign resident who is inside your cities, and he may eat it, or it may be sold to a foreigner. For you are a holy people to Jehovah your God. You must not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. You must, without fail, give 1/10 of everything your seed produces in the field year by year. You will eat the 10th part of your grain, your new wine, your oil, and the firstborn of your herd and your flock before Jehovah your God, in the place that he chooses to have his name reside, so that you may learn to fear Jehovah your God always. But if the journey should be too long for you, and you are not able to carry it to the place that Jehovah your God chooses as the place for his name, because it is far away from you, because Jehovah your God will bless you, you may then convert it into money, and with your money in hand, travel to the place that Jehovah your God will choose. You may then spend the money on whatever you desire: cattle, sheep, goats, wine, and other alcoholic beverages, and anything you please. And you will eat there before Jehovah your God and rejoice, you and your household. And do not neglect the Levite who is inside your cities, for he has not been given a share or an inheritance with you. At the end of every 3 years, you should bring out the entire 10th part of your produce for that year and deposit it inside your cities. Then the Levite, who has not been given a share or an inheritance with you, the foreign resident, the fatherless child, and the widow who are in your cities will come and eat their fill, so that Jehovah your God may bless you in all that you do. Chapter 15. At the end of every 7 years, you should grant a release. This is the nature of the release. Every creditor will release his neighbor from the debt he incurred. He should not demand payment from his neighbor or his brother, for it will be proclaimed a release to Jehovah. You may demand payment from the foreigner, but you should release your claim on whatever your brother owes you. However, no one among you should become poor, for Jehovah will surely bless you in the land that Jehovah your God is giving you to possess as an inheritance, but only if you strictly obey the voice of Jehovah your God and carefully observe all this commandment that I am giving you today. For Jehovah your God will bless you, just as he has promised you, and you will lend to many nations, but you will not need to borrow. And you will dominate many nations, but they will not dominate you. If one of your brothers becomes poor among you in one of your cities of the land that Jehovah your God is giving you, do not harden your heart or be tight-fisted toward your poor brother. For you should generously open your hand to him, and by all means lend whatever he needs or is lacking. Be careful not to harbor this evil idea in your heart. The 7th year, the year of the release, has approached. And hold back your generosity toward your poor brother and give him nothing. If he calls out to Jehovah against you, it will be a sin on your part. You should generously give to him, and you should not give to him grudgingly. For this is why Jehovah your God will bless your every deed and undertaking. For there will always be poor people in the land. That is why I am commanding you. You should generously open up your hand to your afflicted and poor brother in your land. If one of your brothers, a Hebrew man or woman, is sold to you and has served you for 6 years, then in the 7th year you should set him free. And if you should set him free, do not send him away empty-handed. You should supply him generously with something from your flock, your threshing floor, and your press for oil and wine. Just as Jehovah your God has blessed you, you should give to him. Remember that you became a slave in the land of Egypt, and that Jehovah your God redeemed you. That is why I am commanding you to do this today. But if he says to you, I will not go out from your company, because he loves you and your household, since he has been happy while with you, you should then take an awl and put it through his ear into the door, and he will become your slave for life. You should do the same with your slave girl. Do not consider it a hardship when you set him free and he leaves you, because his service to you for 6 years was worth twice as much as that of a hired worker, and Jehovah your God has blessed you in everything that was done. You should sanctify every firstborn male of your herd and your flock to Jehovah your God. You must not do any work with the firstborn of your herd, nor shear the firstborn of your flock. You and your household should eat it before Jehovah your God year by year in the place that Jehovah will choose. But if it has a defect, lameness, blindness, or any other serious defect, you must not sacrifice it to Jehovah your God. You should eat it inside your cities, the unclean and clean person together. as though it were a gazelle or a deer. But you must not eat its blood. You should pour it out on the ground like water.
I'm good, Carol. Thank you. How are you?
Chapter 16. Observe the month of Abib and celebrate the Passover to Jehovah your God. For in the month of Abib, Jehovah your God brought you out of Egypt by night. And you should sacrifice the Passover offering to Jehovah your God from the flock and the herd in the place that Jehovah chooses to have his name reside. You must not eat anything leavened along with it. For 7 days you should eat unleavened bread, the bread of affliction, because you came out of the land of Egypt in haste. Do this so that you may remember the day you came out of the land of Egypt as long as you live. No sourdough should be found with you in all your territory for 7 days, nor should any of the meat that you will sacrifice in the evening on the first day remain all night until the next morning. You will not be allowed to sacrifice the Passover offering in just any of the cities that Jehovah your God is giving you, but it should be done at the place that Jehovah your God chooses to have his name reside. You should sacrifice the Passover offering in the evening as soon as the sun sets, at the appointed time of your coming out of Egypt. You must cook it and eat it in the place that Jehovah your God will choose, and in the morning you may return to your own tents. 6 days you should eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there will be a solemn assembly to Jehovah your God. You must do no work. You should count off 7 weeks. You should begin counting off 7 weeks from the time you first put the sickle to the standing grain. Then you are to celebrate the festival of weeks to Jehovah your God with the voluntary offering from your hand, given in proportion to how Jehovah your God blesses you. And you are to rejoice before Jehovah your God, you and your son, your daughter, your male slave, your female slave, the Levite who is inside your cities, the foreign resident, the fatherless child, and the widow who are in your midst, in the place that Jehovah your God chooses to have his name reside. Remember that you became a slave in Egypt, and observe and carry out these regulations. You should celebrate the festival of booths for 7 days, when you make an ingathering from your threshing floor and from your press for oil and wine. Rejoice during your festival, you and your son, your daughter, your male slave, your female slave, the Levite, the foreign resident, the fatherless child, and the widow who are inside your cities. 7 days you will celebrate the festival to Jehovah your God in the place that Jehovah chooses. For Jehovah your God will bless all your produce and all that you do, and you will become nothing but joyful. 3 times a year, all your males should appear before Jehovah your God in the place that he chooses, at the festival of unleavened bread, the festival of weeks, and the festival of booths, and none of them should appear before Jehovah empty-handed. The gift that each one brings should be in proportion to the blessing that Jehovah your God has given you. You should appoint judges and officers for each tribe in all the cities that Jehovah your God is giving you, and they must judge the people with righteous judgment. You must not pervert justice, show partiality, or accept a bribe, for the bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and distorts the words of the righteous. Justice you should pursue, so that you may keep living and take possession of the land that Jehovah your God is giving you. You should not plant any sort of tree as a sacred pole near the altar of Jehovah your God that you make for yourself. Neither should you set up a sacred pillar for yourself, something Jehovah your God hates. Chapter 17. You must not sacrifice to Jehovah your God a bull or a sheep that has a defect or anything wrong with it, for it would be detestable to Jehovah your God. Suppose a man or a woman is found among you in any of your cities that Jehovah your God is giving you, who is practicing what is bad in the eyes of Jehovah your God and violating his covenant, and he goes astray and worships other gods, and he bows down to them, or to the sun, or the moon, or all the army of the heavens, a thing that I have not commanded. When it is reported to you, or you hear about it, then you should investigate the matter thoroughly. If it is confirmed to be true that this detestable thing has been done in Israel, you must bring the man or the woman who has done this evil thing out to the city gates, and the man or the woman must be stoned to death. On the testimony of 2 witnesses, or of 3 witnesses, the one who is to die should be put to death. He must not be put to death on the testimony of 1 witness. The hand of the witnesses should be the first to come against him to put him to death, and the hand of all the people afterward. You must remove what is bad from your midst. If a case arises in one of your cities that is too difficult for you to judge, whether it is a case involving bloodshed, or a legal claim that has been raised, or a violent deed that has been committed, or other matters of dispute, you should rise up and go to the place that Jehovah your God chooses. Go to the Levitical priests and to the judge serving in those days, and make your inquiry, and they will hand down the decision to you. Then you must act according to the decision that they hand down to you from the place that Jehovah chooses. Be careful to do according to all that they instruct you. You must act according to the law that they show you, and according to the decision that they declare to you. Do not deviate from the decision that they will hand down to you, either to the right or to the left. The man who acts presumptuously by not listening to the priest who is ministering to Jehovah your God or to the judge must die. You must remove what is bad from Israel. All the people will then hear and become afraid, and they will not act presumptuously anymore. When you enter the land that Jehovah your God is giving you, and you have taken possession of it, and are living in it, and you say, "Let me appoint a king over myself, like all the nations around me," in that case, you should without fail appoint a king whom Jehovah your God chooses. You should appoint a king from among your brothers. You are forbidden to appoint over yourself a foreigner who is not your brother. However, he should not acquire many horses for himself, or make the people go back to Egypt in order to obtain more horses, since Jehovah told you, "You must never go back again by this way." Neither should he take many wives for himself, so that his heart may not go astray. Nor should he acquire vast amounts of silver and gold for himself. When he takes his seat on the throne of his kingdom, he must write for himself in a book a copy of this law, taken from the one kept by the Levitical priests. It is to remain with him, and he must read from it all the days of his life, so that he may learn to fear Jehovah his God, and observe all the words of this law and these regulations by carrying them out. Thus his heart will not exalt itself above his brothers, and he will not deviate from the commandment, either to the right or to the left, so that he may remain a long time over his kingdom, he and his sons in the midst of Israel. Chapter 18. The Levitical priests, and indeed the entire tribe of Levi, will not be given a share or an inheritance with Israel. They will eat of the offerings made by fire to Jehovah, which are his inheritance. So they should have no inheritance in the midst of their brothers. Jehovah is their inheritance, just as he has spoken to them. Now this will be the due right of the priests from the people. Whoever makes a sacrifice, whether a bull or a sheep, is to give the shoulder, the jaws, and the stomach to the priest. The first fruits of your grain, your new wine, your oil, and the first wool that is shorn from your flock, you should give him. Jehovah your God has chosen him and his sons from all your tribes to minister in the name of Jehovah always. But if a Levite leaves one of your cities in Israel where he was living, and he desires to go to the place that Jehovah chooses, he may minister there in the name of Jehovah his God, the same as all his brothers, the Levites, who are stationed there before Jehovah. He will receive an equal share of food with them, in addition to what he receives from selling his ancestral possessions. When you have entered into the land that Jehovah your God is giving you, you must not learn to imitate the detestable practices of those nations. There should not be found in you anyone who makes his son or his daughter pass through the fire, anyone who employs divination, anyone practicing magic, anyone who looks for omens, a sorcerer, anyone binding others with a spell, anyone who consults a spirit medium or a fortune teller, or anyone who inquires of the dead. For whoever does these things is detestable to Jehovah. And on account of these detestable practices, Jehovah your God is driving them away from before you. You should prove yourself blameless before Jehovah your God. For these nations that you are dispossessing used to listen to those practicing magic and divination, but Jehovah your God has not allowed you to do anything like this. Jehovah your God will raise up for you from among your brothers a prophet like me. You must listen to him. This is in response to what you asked of Jehovah your God in Horeb on the day of the assembly, when you said, "Do not let me hear the voice of Jehovah my God, or see this great fire anymore, so that I do not die." Then Jehovah said to me, "What they have said is good. I will raise up for them from the midst of their brothers a prophet like you, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he will speak to them all that I command him. Indeed, I will require an account from the man who will not listen to my words that he will speak in my name. If any prophet presumptuously speaks a word in my name that I did not command him to speak, or speaks in the name of other gods, that prophet must die. However, you may say in your heart, 'How will we know that Jehovah has not spoken the word?' When the prophet speaks in the name of Jehovah, and the word is not fulfilled or does not come true, then Jehovah did not speak that word. The prophet spoke it presumptuously. You should not fear him." Chapter 19. When Jehovah your God destroys the nations whose land Jehovah your God is giving you, and you have dispossessed them, and have settled in their cities and their houses, you should set apart 3 cities in the midst of your land that Jehovah your God is giving you to possess. You should divide the territory of the land that Jehovah your God has given you to possess into 3 parts, and prepare the roads, so that any manslayer can flee to one of those cities. Now this is what should take place regarding the manslayer, who may flee there in order to live. When he strikes his fellow man unintentionally, and he did not previously hate him, as when he goes with his fellow man into the forest to gather wood, and he raises his hand to cut the tree with the axe, but the axe head flies off the handle and hits his fellow man, and he dies, the manslayer should flee to one of these cities to live. Otherwise, in the heat of anger, the avenger of blood may chase after the manslayer, overtake him, and kill him, because the distance to the city was too far. However, he did not deserve to die, since he did not previously hate his fellow man. That is why I am commanding you, set 3 cities apart. If Jehovah your God enlarges your territory, as he swore to your forefathers, and he has given you all the land that he promised to give to your forefathers, provided you faithfully observe all this commandment that I am giving you today, to love Jehovah your God, and always to walk in his ways, then you are to add 3 other cities to these 3. In this way, no innocent blood will be spilled in your land that Jehovah your God is giving you as an inheritance, and no blood guilt will come upon you. But if a man hated his fellow man, and he was waiting to attack him, and he fatally wounded him and he died, and the man has fled to one of these cities, the elders of his city should then summon him from there, and deliver him into the hand of the avenger of blood, and he must die. You should not feel sorry for him, and you must remove the guilt of innocent blood out of Israel, so that it may go well for you. When you receive your inheritance in the land that Jehovah your God is giving you to possess, you must not move your neighbor's boundary marker from the place where the ancestors set the boundaries. No single witness may convict another for any error or any sin that he may commit. On the testimony of 2 witnesses or on the testimony of 3 witnesses, the matter should be established. If a malicious witness testifies against a man and charges him with some transgression, the 2 men who have the dispute will stand before Jehovah, before the priests and the judges who will be serving in those days. The judges will thoroughly investigate, and if the man who testified is a false witness and has brought a false charge against his brother, you should do to him just as he had schemed to do to his brother, and you must remove what is bad from your midst. Those who remain will hear and be afraid, and they will never again do anything bad like this among you. You should not feel sorry. Life will be for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Chapter 20.
Last one, guys.
If you go to war against your enemies, and you see their horses and chariots and troops that outnumber yours, do not be afraid of them. For Jehovah your God, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt, is with you. When you are about to go into battle, the priest should approach and address the people. He should tell them, "Hear, O Israel, you are about to do battle with your enemies. Do not be faint-hearted. Do not be afraid or be terrified or tremble because of them. For Jehovah your God is marching with you to fight for you against your enemies and to save you." The officers too should tell the people, "Who has built a new house and has not inaugurated it? Let him return to his house. Otherwise he may die in the battle, and another man will inaugurate it. And who has planted a vineyard and not begun to use it? Let him go and return to his house. Otherwise he may die in the battle, and another man will begin to use it. And who has become engaged to a woman and has not married her? Let him go and return to his house. Otherwise he might die in the battle, and another man will marry her." The officers should also ask the people, "Who is fearful and faint-hearted? He should return to his house, so that he may not cause his brothers to lose heart, as he has." When the officers have finished speaking to the people, they should appoint chiefs of the armies to lead the people. If you approach a city to fight against it, you should also announce to it terms of peace. If it gives a peaceful answer to you and opens up to you, all the people found there will become yours for forced labor, and they will serve you. But if it refuses to make peace with you, and instead goes to war with you, you should besiege it, and Jehovah your God will certainly give it into your hand, and you must strike down every male in it with the sword. However, the women, the children, the livestock, and everything that is in the city, all its spoil, you may plunder for yourself, and you will eat the spoil of your enemies, which Jehovah your God has given to you. That is what you will do to all the cities very far away from you that are not of the cities of these nearby nations. But in the cities of these peoples, which Jehovah your God is giving you as an inheritance, you must not allow any breathing thing to live. Instead, you should devote them completely to destruction. The Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, just as Jehovah your God has commanded you. so that they may not teach you to follow all their detestable practices that they have done for their gods, causing you to sin against Jehovah your God. If you lay siege to a city in order to capture it, and you have been fighting against it for many days, you should not destroy its trees by wielding an axe against them. You may eat from them, but you should not cut them down. For should you besiege a tree of the field as you would a man? You may destroy only a tree that you know is not used for food. You may cut it down and build siege works against the city that is making war against you, until it falls.
And that is it.
Chapter
Boop. All right, now we'll listen. We'll go read. The verse of the day is, where is it? That's where it's down here. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 20. For they could, this is Hebrews 12, chapter 12, verse 20. For they could not bear the command, if even a beast touches the mountain, it should be stoned. So I am going to go to 4:12. For the word of God is alive and powerful. It's sharper than its sharpest two-edged sword, cutting between bone and soul and spirit, in joint and marrow, and it exposes the innermost thoughts and desires. I did not read this one. I read the other one, so you know I did not copy that. I just looked to see which one was first, soul and spirit, or joint and marrow. That's the only thing I looked at it for. So I love you, and I want to announce that it is Danielle's husband Mike's birthday today. So wish Mikey Poo a happy birthday. Only I can call him Mikey Poo. Everybody else has to call him Mike. So happy birthday, Mikey Poo. Love you guys. Love, don't judge. Peace out.